Hello, fifth graders. Today is one of the last days that we are going to do MCA practice for reading. Today's article is going to be online. It's not in your packet, but you do need a piece of paper, just a lined piece of paper, or you could use your whiteboard. But you're going to take a picture of the answers for this story called Bread to Make Dumplings. So that will be my way of verifying that you went through the video and that you wrote down the answers. So this one is what you would see in a practice one, similar to when I put you in small groups and you did the one on, what was that called? The cedar, a many splendored tree. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Again, as we go through these, number your answers and write them down, and then you'll be taking a picture of it. So if I were online, as you will be if you come to the district office to take this test, you will get the title up at the top, and then we will have these arrows to move us forward or back. So this is called Bread to Make Dumplings. Read these stories about families, then answer the questions. Some questions may ask you about certain paragraphs. The paragraphs are numbered on the left side, and we've seen this a couple of different times. So I'm going to go ahead and read. The only place that this is on your iPad. So go ahead and follow as I read. Bread to Make by Sue Veering. Summer slid into autumn. School began and I went, not because it was the law, but because the window of my classroom faced the road that would bring my father back to me. Paragraph 2. September brought storms that swept the farm with flashes of light and with thunder that rumbled and roared as if it would crush us with its mighty voice. Grandmother had no love for these storms. She sat, one white-knuckled hand gripping the wooden arm of the old rocker. Mending lay forgotten on her lap, as bolts of lightning ripped open the sky and thunder crashed down on us in wave after wave. Her other hand would fly up and then fall to rest on the Bible lying on the table beside her. Her fear filled the room. Paragraph 4. An Afghan, which is like a blanket, rested in ripples of brown and gold on the back of grandmother's sofa. It laid hastily across her lap. A small smile struggled across her face as if she knew she was too old to be the one who was afraid. I sat at her feet and light and fleeting as the touch of a butterfly, my hand touched her knee. Grandmother, have you ever seen the way trees seem to dance in a storm? I began. As I talked, grandmother's hand eased its death grip a little, and together we watched until the storm was just a whisper. Paragraph 7. October became November. The dark came early now and the cold. I was driven inside. I was sleeping, dreaming deeply when grandmother's hand shook me awake. I stumbled behind grandmother down the stairs. In the warmth from the old wood stove, I put on layers of clothes she handed to me. Once I was dressed to the last button and boot, grandmother seemed satisfied. Paragraph 10. Alive with curiosity, I followed her through the door. We stepped off the porch and into a white lace world. Snow had fallen. While I slept, inches of snow silently gift-wrapped the world in icy beauty. That would be personification, where something that is not human, in fact, gift-wrapped, you couldn't do gift-wrapped it, but it creates an image. Moonlight pushed its way through the clouds and blue shadows ribboned fields as lustrous as midday. From the shed behind the house, grandmother pulled out an old sled. Together we walked to the top of the pasture. I could never wait until morning, she said, as I sat down on the sled. Grandmother gave us a running push and scrambled on behind. Snow stung our cheeks in star crystal kisses as we flew down the hill. Over and over we soared, the notes of our laughter a duet, dancing behind us in the night air. Finally, we trudged up the hill and home. Hot chocolate thick with whipped cream soon made me warm and sleepy. Before I went up the stairs, I wrapped my arms around my grandmother. We leaned together shyly. Thank you, I whispered. In the morning, I brushed the snow off the railing and sat, shivering a little in the wintry sunlight. I thought about my father and the note he left. I knew soon would not be today, and it probably would not be tomorrow. Through the window, I could see my grandmother. It was Saturday, and she was making bread. Her strong arms folded the dough over on itself again and again. I thought about this grandmother who'd been there when my father was a boy and who was here for me now, who was present in all the small tasks of the day and in the magic of the moonlit ride. With one last look at the road, I slid off my perch and slipped through the door. After all, there was bread to make. So that's called selection 1. So we're going to move on to another selection. This one's called Dumplings by Nolan. I sigh and lean back in my chair asking, how do I say aunt again? My mom says joyeux, which sounds like she to me. Don't know how to pronounce that. I repeat clumsily once, twice, 3 times. My mom gives me a proud smile, but I'm pretty sure I sound more donkey than Chinese. My clumsy American tongue fumbles on the 4 different tones in the Mandarin, so I decide it's safest to stick with Aunt Shirley's American name. Paragraph 21. She should be here any minute, my mom says nervously while fiddling with her cooking apron. We drop the dumplings, mine included, into a pot of boiling water and wash our hands. I stand in front of the mirror wondering what my aunt will think when she first sees me. My hair is light brown and my eyes are hazel. Try as I might, I can't see a speck of Chinese blood in my features, except for my almond-shaped eyes. I wonder if she's going to recognize me. There's only time to brush my hair and try to air out the heavy smell of soy sauce from the house before the doorbell interrupts me. I feel nervous as I rush to the front door and yank it open. My mom follows close behind, smoothing back her hair. While my dad rises to greet our guests. Ah, why, Sheng Nu. The face of the woman at the door breaks into a huge smile and she embraces me. Embraces means to hug. My Aunt Shirley could have been the twin of my mother. They have the same short black haircut, small stature, which means she's kind of shorter, not as tall, black rimmed glasses and oval face. They're standing together now, talking in rapid and incomprehensible Mandarin, their faces glowing identical with happiness. We rush her to the dinner table where there are 6 or 7 courses waiting. During dinner, she continually leans over, taking my face in her hands, kissing my cheeks. I don't mind and smile. We eat our way through the white rice, tofu, stir-fried vegetables, noodle, kung pao chicken, and rice congee. Then comes the dumplings. I watch embarrassed as a few of my mutilated dumplings make their way into my aunt's bowl. My mom is talking in Chinese again. Suddenly, my aunt is beaming. You make jiaozi? She asks in broken English, pointing at the dumplings. Ah, the bad ones, I say. She seems to know what I mean and lifts one of her chopsticks, placing it in her mouth. She mostly eats the ripped ones, the ones I made. She looks happier with each bite. After dinner, she hands me a red and gold envelope filled with money and a green jade necklace. I hardly know how to express my gratitude, but I say, thank you, Aunt Shirley, in English. Bu ki ka, she replies. We're silent, looking at each other, unable to communicate any further. A wave of sadness passes over me that I can't understand Chinese, that I've never earnestly tried to connect with my mother's culture, that I haven't seen this woman for so long, I know so little. I wondered how it would be with my children, who would most likely be a quarter Chinese and would know even less than I do. Suddenly, I needed to be able to share my culture for generations. Za zi zo ya, I say again, this time translating to horribly accented Mandarin. Then I embrace my koyi. For once, I didn't just feel American. I know now that half of me is Chinese and always will be. So we have questions. We have 18 of them. I'm not sure that we'll go through all of them, but it says, based on the story Bread to Make. So I have to go back up to the top. The narrator turns her attention to the outdoors because, if I look, the road that would bring my father back to me. Enjoys the sight of snow. Nope. Hopes to see her father return home. Yep, but I'm going to read all of the possibilities. C, prefers to be somewhere other than school or likes to watch her grandmother from a distance. We know in that very first paragraph that she is looking for her father's return. So let's number this number 1. And this is letter B. So write it on a piece of paper or whiteboard so I know that you've done this. And then you go back up here to your arrow to bring the next question up. In what time frame do the events in Bread to Make happen? Summer slid into autumn. October became November. So if you look at this, we're talking months, potentially years. So let's see if there's anything else. So here we have summer to autumn, which is months. October became November. And then sorry about that. Let me share my screen. Whoops, again. Okay. In what time frame does it happen, Bread to Make happen? And we see it's months, right? So we would put number 2, we would put C. All right, let's continue. Which quotations from the story use personification? Personification is giving human-like characteristics to something that is not human. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at paragraph 2. September brought storms that swept the farm with flashes of light and with thunder that rumbled and roared as if it would crush us with its mighty voice. It says select 3 appropriate quotation marks. So if we look, can thunder crush us with its mighty voice, or is that a human-like characteristic? It's a human-like characteristic. Dark came early and the cold. That's not anything that humans would do that inanimate objects wouldn't, things that are not alive. Paragraph 10 says, alive with curiosity, I followed her through the door. That's Grandma. We stepped off the porch into a white lace world. Snow had fallen. While I slept, inches of snow silently gift wrapped the world. Okay, so snow cannot gift wrap. So that would be one. People gift wrap, right? I followed her through the door. Moonlight, let's see, the other one. Dark came early, alive with curiosity. I followed her through the door. That's Grandma, so that is a human. Moonlight pushed its way through the clouds. Well, moonlight cannot push, but humans can, so that would be called personification. So in this case, number 3, because there are multiple answers, I'm going to just ask you to put an X, okay? Meaning there's multiple answers. Read this sentence from paragraph 5. I sat at her feet, and light and fleeting as the touch of a butterfly, my hand touched her knee. So the narrator compares her hand to a butterfly to show she's not afraid. Her touch is gentle. She is sitting near her grandmother. Her grandmother cannot feel her touch. So if we go to paragraph 5, I sat at her feet, and lightly and fleeting as a touch of a butterfly, my hand touched her knee. I think the best answer is that her touch is gentle. A butterfly, very fragile, right? So I would say the best answer is her touch is gentle. So go ahead and put down number 4, letter B. Number 6, read the sentence from paragraph 6. Grandmother, have you ever seen the way trees seem to dance in a storm? I began. There's another example of personification. Trees cannot dance. The narrator asked grandmother's question most likely to help her grandmother view storms in a different way, learn about storms over farmland, describe the landscape of the farm, or avoid loneliness by talking to her grandmother. Grandmother, have you ever seen the way trees seem to dance? I began. As I talked, grandmother's hand eased its death grip a little bit. So I believe it is because her grandmother views storms in a different way. Try to help her take some of that fear away and think of the storm as trees dancing instead of being scared. So number 5 is letter A. Write that down on your whiteboard or piece of paper. Number 6, select pictures for the narrator's photo album. Show events in the order in which the narrator and grandmother experience them in the story Bread to Make. Okay, so we have 4 events that we need to put in order. And what we're going to do is bring these up. So we have girl and grandmother on a sled, which happens near the end. Girl and grandmother hugging each other. Grandmother bending over girl in bed. Girl sitting at the feet of grandmother in the rocking chair. So we have to go back what happened first. I'm just going to scan. So that I'll include the girl. Okay, so the first thing I see is I sat at her feet. I sat at her feet. So that would be the first one. I'm going to scan. Let's see. I was sleeping, dreaming deeply when grandmother's hand shook me awake. So grandmother must be bending over her, shaking her awake. And here grandmother pulled out an old sled and together we walked. So she goes sledding with her grandmother. Let me see, where is she hugging her? Before I went up the stairs, I wrapped my arms around my grandmother. So I just scanned a story I had already read so that I could put these in order. Okay, that's number 6. 6 is one of those ones that you can't write down a letter, so you can put an X through it. Number 7. In paragraph 20, the narrator's mother gives her a proud smile because the narrator, let's read 20. I sigh and lean back in my chair asking, how do I say aunt again? My mother says, Zaye, which sounds like shai to me. I repeat clumsily once, twice, and 3 times. My mom gives me a proud smile, but I'm pretty sure I sound more donkey than Chinese. So why does her mom give her a proud smile? Looks like her aunt? No. Has told a joke in Chinese? No. Repeats a term in Chinese? Yes. But let's read them all. Has made dumplings for her aunt. No, she's repeating aunt. And so she's at least trying. So number 7 is C. Number 8. Read this sentence from paragraph 22. This sentence, my Aunt Shirley could have been the twin of my mother. This sentence means that Aunt Shirley and the narrator's mother look alike, are acting the same, are close in age, or stand side by side. If you're a twin, means you look alike. So for number 8, write down letter A. And let's do one more together. Based on her actions during dinner, the narrator's aunt most likely, and it talks about, let's go to where they have dinner. She seems to know what I mean and lifts one with her chopsticks, placing in her mouth. She mostly eats the ripped ones, the ones I made. She looks happier with each bite. So based on her actions, the narrator's aunt most likely is embarrassed by her poor English. No. Is happy to see her niece again. Maybe. Thinks her niece looks like her sister. No. Wants to make her own Chinese dumplings. I think is happy to see her niece again. So 9 is B. All right, that is all we're going to do for practice. I think that you get the idea of how these questions are set up and a little bit of practice with it as well.